Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Few. I, as always, am Stoned Arrow, and before I introduce my colleagues today, I want to talk about our social medias. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Fantasy Few. We are also on Spotify as well. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm good. What's up, all you cool cats and kittens?
And Paul, how are you doing?
Hey, how we doing, everybody?
Uh,
So today we're going to talk about the AFC West, which consists of Drew Lock and his now defunct hot seat, as the Broncos have named Teddy Bridgewater QB1. Firmly planted rookie sensation Justin Herbert and his LA Chargers. Wild Las Vegas Raiders head coach John Gruden looks to gamble with house money once again and continue to construct his offense around stars like Derek Carr, then Darren Waller, and running back Josh Jacobs. Most importantly, it's home to the reigning AFC champions, Kansas City Chiefs. But for our first episode today, we will be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos.
all
Listen,
right, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. So let's talk about some important player changes. They signed Jarek McKinnon in April. He's been kind of quiet. Nobody's been talking about him. He's been that shifty back that has the potential to produce in an offense like this. They also signed center Austin Blythe and Joe Thuney. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. They also traded for tackle Orlando Brown. It was a pretty big trade between the Chiefs and the Ravens. Um, Solid win for the Chiefs on that one. So I'm just going to keep on going on with this. So, are there any other options on this offense besides Mahomes, Hill, and Kels? Stone, Paul, what do you think about that before I go into my guy?
Uh, Maybe. Depends.
Yeah.
We don't really know yet. It's kind of a big question mark. I mean, we've
Yeah.
heard a lot of talk about Byron Pringle becoming the number two receiver, and I know you have a little bit to talk about for him, so that's who I would say.
Yeah.
I would
Um,
say that a lot of people are probably sleeping on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But also, I feel like there's not enough hype going around for Miko Hardman. I
yeah.
think he's one of those guys. Is one of those guys that I believe is going to take the top off the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Opposite Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill does it every week. Doesn't matter who's guarding him. But he's also one of those guys that gets the ball out of the backfield on jet sweeps. He gets rush attempts. Um, I think there's a lot of people sleeping on Miko Hardman.
Mason, you want to possibly talk about Byron Pringle and how people have been talking about him possibly overtaking Miko Hardman?
My thought is Byron Pringle. I read a report not too long ago by Charles Goldman of USA Today. He reported that Pringle has been the most consistent receiver in camp outside of Tyreek Hill and could be carving out a significant role in the offense. So Byron Pringle entered the camp as underdog, obviously, um, and the third-year wideout looks to beat out Miko Hardman and Demarcus Robinson for the number two wide receiver on the team. He could begin to creep up into sleeper territory in deep fantasy leagues, but is still a risky thought at this point before the preseason is over. I do remember watching Byron Pringle last year in games, and I thought, man, this guy could really be something. He had a couple good games where he showed up. Maybe it was only one, I forget completely, but I do think that guy has potential.
Yeah, and I have a quick stat to say. It's just over the course of 2 years, he has 25 catches and averaged about 13 yards per catch on those 25 that he's had. So if he does steal that second string spot and then gets some volume, he could actually be a fantasy gold mine. Mason, do you want to talk about the next bullet point for us?
Yeah, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was overhyped last year. Um, Finished with 800 rushing yards and four touchdowns. What are your guys' thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Well, I think
There's a rookie.
I think we can jump into our bust segment real quick because I have him as my bust, and like Paul said, he was a rookie, so people definitely overshot what they thought he was going to do last year. I didn't think there was any chance that he performed the way people thought he was going to. And then, obviously, he didn't perform to the, what was he getting drafted second, third round last year in drafts? He didn't perform to that, and he shouldn't have. But he did manage over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, but does that still justify him being a third-round pick this year? He did only play 13 games last year, but he only had around 200 touches, so the volume in that high-powered Kansas City offense, you never know where the touches are going to go. So I think if he played those last 3 games, he would have had somewhere probably around 220 to 230, whereas you can probably get other running backs in these rounds that are going to have more volume, and that's kind of what I like to see in a running back. And also at average draft position 30, you're sitting here looking at him versus people that being available possibly like Allen Robinson at ADP 33 or George Kittle at average draft position 29, and I wouldn't reach with the pick. I would rather have surefire guys like those.
And just real quick, because I know what I said when I was like he was a rookie. That doesn't really mean a whole much compared to some running backs. Ezekiel Elliott, his rookie year, he led the league in rushing, I'm pretty sure. Kareem Hunt, when he got drafted by Kansas City, he came out and led the league in rushing with 1,400 yards. So I do take that back when I say, well, he was a rookie, but they also didn't have a quarterback like Pat Mahomes leading their team. That is what I will preface that with.
It's the volume in Kansas City. That's really the only reason why. Like, he honestly does have the talent to get the numbers of, like, an elite running back. It's just the team he plays for, I think, actually kind of hinders his ability to get those numbers. Well, Mason, you want to jump into your bust now?
Yes, I would love to jump into my bust, which would be Miko Hardman. There's not much to hate on the most powerful offense in the league, besides Travis Kelce going in the first round this year. Don't like that much, but there's an argument. But I've heard a lot of hype surrounding this guy recently. We all know Mahomes' number 1 target, and that's Kelce, okay? Followed by Tyreek Hill, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, more than likely. Hardman would seem like the most obvious next man up coming into his 3rd year, but I'm going to tell you guys why he's not going to be worth the 11th round average draft position he holds right now. He was technically the 4th option on the team last year, and he's technically the 4th option on the team this year. Note that. And he managed a 10% target share. Not terrible in that high-volume offense. That led to 41 catches, 560 yards, and a touchdown stat line. Sammy Watkins had a 9% target share. Kelce had a 24% share. Hill had a 22% share. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire with a 9% share. Another one, Demarcus Robinson, 9% share. And Byron Pringle had a 3% share. But after all the reports coming out on Pringle, I can see his share going up to 10% easily. Okay. And now we add the 5th round draft pick, Cornell Powell. I don't think the rookie wide receiver will have a big splash, but that's just another option to take away from Miko Hardman. So guys that I would draft in the 11th round with that 11th round ADP, that would have to be Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, Marvin Jones, Russell Gage, and Marquez Callaway. All these guys will see the potential number 1 role in that offense, and they are all going around the same time. So that's just something to think about when you're drafting Miko Hardman, all the volume you are leaving on the table potentially.
I'd like to jump in there because we have the same player, Miko Hardman. But if people are paying attention to preseason, I don't see Marquez Callaway going in the 11th. He's probably going to go higher now. And same thing with Darnell Mooney. I feel like just because of what he had last year, like what he did production-wise last year, and I've already spoke to it multiple times on our episodes. If you're somebody who knows how to play, you'll see that his ADP is actually going to be going higher than the 11th round where he's supposed to be going. And I'm one of those type of people that I'll take him in the 9th round. Even if I have to reach a little bit, I don't care because I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to go for 1,000 yards opposite Allen Robinson.
I ain't skirting Darnell Mooney.
Now to get into my my bust, Miko Hardman. And wide receiver 59, ADP, back end of the 11th round. Same reason he has the opportunity to be a sleeper candidate. His big play ability and touchdown dependent. His first 2 years in the NFL, he averaged 16.4 yards per catch. Pretty solid. He has 10 touchdowns in 2 years. That might be his ceiling as an offensive player, even though he brings punt return and kick return ability. Could step up as the number 2 behind Hill. Also, at the same time, exactly everything Mason was just speaking to. All the target shares. We don't know who's going to be the guy that's going to step up. A lot of people speculate it's going to be Hardman. Again, he might just take that step back and not gain much more in the offense, and it's just going to go around to other players.
I have a question.
I mean, that's really all I have on that. What's up?
So, would you guys say that Miko Hardman is kind of similar to Tyreek Hill in the skill set and like
I actually,
size?
yeah, I completely agree with that. Kind of. I mean, they're like Tyreek Hill's faster, obviously, but Miko Hardman does have super speed. He's a very fast, one of the fastest players in the league, probably. They're very similar receivers. I think it's just Hardman's just not as good at route running than Tyreek Hill. I think that's what it probably comes down to.
I think you would have to take Tyreek's spot. Like, is there room enough?
And that's what I was about to say. I mean, I don't think you can even really compare the two just because of the production that Tyreek's put up. Are they similar in stature? Yes. Are they both speedsters? Yes. You don't see Hardman streaking down the field, going up against safety and a corner and pulling in touchdowns. Tyreek Hill is just a freak athlete.
Yes,
Like, for as small as he is, like, he will out jump your corners and your safeties to go get those touchdowns.
He's
he will make your corners and safeties look like they're on ice skates with his route running. And Miko Hardman, I don't think is anywhere close to that.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, I mean, if he trained for it, he could literally be I don't know if he could for America, but I think he could definitely be in the question of being a 100-meter Olympic athlete for us. I mean, if he trained right and regularly for it, but I mean, that's how fast the guy is. He's got super speed, and there's no one that can really even match that in today's NFL. So to jump away from that, let's talk about our guarantees. Mason, do you want to start off with the guy who slings that ball to Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, this is easy. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. The guy's been flawless since he's entered the league. From 2018 to 2020, he's thrown 114 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. He's quite literally a cheat code. I only have one negative remark regarding fantasy. You have to pick him as early as the second round, and with my draft style, that's a no-go, at least this year. Although I have been tempted to select him in the second round, and here's why. He ranks top 5 in pass attempts, passing yards, passing touchdowns, and yards per average, while also finishing 10th among QBs in rushing yards. He averaged 30 fantasy points per game and scored over 45 points twice last season. This is your standard 6-point league. This guarantees that he will single-handedly win you games, okay? That's obviously huge. If you have Patrick Mahomes on your starting lineup and he scores you 45 points, there's a good chance you're winning that week.
I do want to butt in real fast because he's also my guarantee. I mean, it's Patrick freaking Mahomes. Like, it doesn't get much better than that at the fantasy QB position. But I want to kind of counter something you said. You said you have to reach for him to second round, but his ranking off of ESPN is at 49 at the moment, which I find absolutely astonishing because that's the beginning of the 5th round, I believe.
I said as early because I've been in drafts where he's been taken.
And I'm going to touch on that. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever actually been a part of a league where he's been drafted outside of the first 3 rounds. But with his position at 49 right now, if you can get this guy in the 5th round, that is an absolute steal. I mean, like Mason said, the guy literally can win you weeks. He can drop a 50 bomb any given day of the week. He is a special quarterback. And a special tight end named Travis Kelce is Paul's guarantee, and I think that's a very obvious one as well.
Bust.
Yeah. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. He's the greatest tight end of all time. Sorry, Tony Gonzalez. Sorry, Gronk. Greg Olsen, all the greats. Travis Kelce's the guy.
Greg Olsen.
Yeah, I put Greg Olsen in there. He's top 7 tight end in the NFL history.
Is he?
Go ahead and look up his stats.
Top
Okay.
seven.
Look
Top
up his
seven's
stats.
fair. Top seven's fair.
Yeah. That is fair.
But in the past 3 seasons, he's had 305 receptions, 981 yards, 26 touchdowns. He's missed 1 game. He's played 47 out of 48 games. There's nothing else to talk about.
I
Like,
mean,
he's out there every single night. He's out there
This will
putting
be
up
the year he gets hurt.
1,300 yard seasons. I mean, it's possible. I'll never say that a player is not going to get injured. There's always a chance of that. But what I will say is I did recently read an article stating that they think he will fall outside the top 5 tight ends. He will finish like tight end 7, I believe it was. And I don't believe that's going to happen.
Not a chance.
I feel like, if anything, there's only going to be one tight end that can overtake him for tight end 1, and that's probably going to be Darren Waller.
Not even George Kittle?
Love George Kittle, but I think Darren Waller has a lot less talent on that offense for Derek Carr to find. I know they have Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards and whoever else they brought over in free agency. But we've seen it. We've seen the emergence of Darren Waller and his breakout year. Whatever quarterback in San Francisco there is, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance is going to look to run a little bit more. Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, he's a pocket guy. But they have so many weapons over there. They got Deebo Samuel. They got Brandon Ayuk. They got George Kittle. They got all 17 of their running backs out of the backfield.
That is true.
I just feel like he'll have less opportunity than what Darren Waller will. But I still think Travis Kelce's going to finish as tight end 1 this year.
I completely agree, and I am going to say, as opposed to Mason's 3 RB theory, don't be afraid to draft this guy at the end of the first round or the beginning of the second round. Travis Kelce is an absolute monster and deserves to be drafted that high.
Or don't be scared to draft him with the 4th overall pick. I showed you in our mock draft.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition away from the GOATs in Kansas City and talk about the Denver Broncos. Mason, you want to talk about our bullet points here?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start off with the most recent news. Bridgewater has been named the starter of Week 1. That's just Week 1. If he goes out and trashes it, he might not be the starter. All right, so the next hot topic in Denver, what I want to talk about is, who do you take, Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon? Currently, Javonte and Gordon are going mid to late 6th round. Wow. Gordon ranked 9th among backs in carries, rushing yards, and TDs while finishing as running back 14 in fantasy in 2020. He was effective as a rusher, which he had 4.6 yards per carry. But let's see here. Yeah. And then 1.9 yards after catch. I don't think that's great for a running back. And now has scored at least 9 TDs in 5 consecutive seasons. That's pretty solid. I'll take that. On the flip side, Gordon wasn't as involved as expected as a wide receiver. 45 targets, which is his fewest since 2015, and he struggled badly in that area. The worst running back in the league with 3.5 yards per target. He now has legitimate competition via the 2nd round pick Javonte Williams. Gordon may lead the unit early on in the season, but may struggle for consistent running back 2 numbers. He is a great flex to target with a 6th round pick, though. That's what I believe.
I know that me and Paul are gonna butt heads here because I know Javonte Williams is his guy, but I have always been a big fan of Melvin Gordon. The guy, you can't really argue against the talent that he has. He's a very, very good running back. And looking at the stats, the worst season that he's had is probably in 2019, besides his rookie season, is in 2019, where he had about a combined 900 yards and 9 total touchdowns. And if you're looking at that as your complete like downfall with that late of a pick of running back, I think Melvin Gordon's a huge steal at that point.
I like it.
I just want to preference something here. I don't think Melvin Gordon has been the same running back since he held out trying to get a better deal from the Chargers. And he's almost following a very similar suit what a lot of running backs that try to pull that try to hold out during camp or the season, whatever it may be, for a better deal. Ultimately, they don't get it. So they move on, they go elsewhere, right? Le'Veon Bell, prime example. And he came back after a year off, turning down a massive contract extension from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Went to the New York Jets, regardless of the offense being run by Adam Gase. He did not produce very well. He was a shell of himself. And I feel like that's the same thing that we're seeing in Melvin Gordon ever since he's left and gone over to Denver.
So
I don't think he's the same player.
I would agree. I agree with you. It doesn't seem like he's the same player, and I thought the same thing too, really, throughout the year. But like looking back on his stats, he finished last year with 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns still, which is very good value for later in drafts. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't seem.
Is it all-purpose yards or
that's
is that
all-purpose
rushing yards?
And then all-purpose touchdowns. Yeah.
Yep, and he had 32 receptions to pair with it. So PPR wise, that's decent numbers right there. And like I said, 2019 was his worst year, but he only played 12 games that year and still ended the year with close to 900 yards, 9 touchdowns. So, and I don't know.
Not to trash on Gordon, but wasn't Philip Lindsay hurt for most of last year?
Yeah, he was.
They're really running back on the roster would have been Royce Freeman, who was a late round pick. Everybody had high praise for him a couple years ago in fantasy. I love the guy. I wanted him. I drafted him, and I got burned by him. So I feel like he just kind of got the touches because nobody else was there. And yeah, he put up 1,100, 1,200 all-purpose yards, whatever you guys said. I think he's a shell of himself. And did you guys have an ADP on him?
What'd you say? The ADP was?
Mid to late 6th round.
Yeah.
There's no way I would touch. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole in the 6th round.
I just want to
point out. If he falls to the 9th, 10th round or something like that, I would probably do it. But I would be a lot more happy to take Javonte Williams over Melvin Gordon.
I do want to point out that people are drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 3rd round, who had, we said, 1,000 yards last year, which is less than Melvin Gordon. Yeah, 1,000 total. And then what were the amount of touchdowns that we said again? I can't remember.
He had 4.
4. Okay.
Rushing at least. I don't know about receiving.
Okay. So that like both numbers on Melvin Gordon's end are better than Edwards-Helaire, and he's going 3 rounds later. I think with the upside that Melvin Gordon contains at his ADP, he's a definite steal at the running back position. And I'm not going to say Javonte Williams isn't going to do good either. Like, Javonte Williams will come in and play good minutes, and he'll be a good player for them. I just think Melvin Gordon's still going to be a great value at the 6th round.
Let's think about the business side. They have Melvin Gordon under a contract. They still are paying him. Why not just go beat him up so when the team is progressing on in the future, they can save some miles on Javonte Williams? I'm not questioning Javonte Williams' talent. I'm questioning the business side of football. And if Melvin Gordon still has it, why not just beat him into the ground?
Yeah.
I just want to jump in with a point because you were talked about this previously, Mason, with Mike Adams. You said staring at him in the 6th round.
Mike Davis?
Don't want to take him. Yes, Mike Adams. I don't know where that came from. Mike Davis. He said that he's not a sexy pick. And I feel like that's the same situation right here with Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
He's just not a sexy pick.
Yeah.
Could come out and produce. I mean, obviously, Javonte Williams is a rookie. Nobody knows what he's going to do. Nobody knows how that offense is going to really run yet. Teddy Bridgewater at the helm now. But To your point, Stone, you said Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the sexy pick. He is going in the third round. And you're almost comparing their same numbers and their stats to what you're going to get out of him is what you could potentially get out of Melvin Gordon in the 6th, 7th round. So I mean, I understand where both you guys are coming from. And like I said, I'm not against Melvin Gordon in any way. I just don't think he's the same type of player that he used to be. And I think it's one of those things that we all know. Running back lifespans in the NFL, typically 4 years. Last year, a superstar stud running back might eke out a little bit longer of a career. But Melvin Gordon, all the miles that he put on his body out in San Diego, LA, whatever you want to call him, playing with the Chargers, the amount of touches that he had, receptions and actual touches through the tackles, sitting out a year, a lot of people thought it was going to do him good. But like I said, when he came back, I just did not see the same running back. I did not see the same explosiveness out of him. He produced, yes, but I don't know who I would take in that situation. If I'm staring at both of them at, say, pick 7 in the 7th round, I'm probably going to lean more towards Javonte Williams than I would Melvin Gordon.
That's a fair take. We're going to move into our busts now. We got to move through these pretty quickly here. So I'm going to start it for us. I chose Jerry Judy, and that's going to seem like kind of a crazy pick, because he looks like he's improved throughout the offseason this year and everything. But he had such a lackluster rookie season in my eyes. He played every single game, and he had an incredible 113 targets for a rookie, and then he had a 16.5 yards per catch, which is amazing as well. So why am I down on him? Well, he only managed to catch 52 of those balls that were thrown to him, and that equates to a 46% completion percentage. That is terrible. But I will say he does have Teddy Bridgewater as his QB now, so that could definitely change. As we talked about, Teddy Bridgewater is a fairly accurate quarterback. Drew Lock, obviously, I'm not sure about that guy, but if somehow Teddy Bridgewater goes down, I don't expect to see much out of Jerry Judy this year, to be honest with you.
I do just want to say I'm pretty sure Jerry Judy had a high amount of uncatchable balls, and that's the only reason I was shaking my finger.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
13 targets. But yeah. All right.
Mason, you got anybody for busts here?
Yeah, so it just kind of goes back to the whole running back talk. Because this offense is so predictable, it's hard to gauge who's going to be a bust on this offense. But I'm going to go against Paul and say Javonte Williams. Like we said earlier, I believe Melvin Gordon is going to get a majority of the load at the beginning of the season, which means you'll need to spend your 6th-round pick on Williams to store him on the bench until they decide to make him the full-time starter. Could be week 4, could be week 8, could be, I don't know, just later on, because they're going to get a taste of him at some point. They got to see what he's about, in the NFL.
Be week 2 when Melvin Gordon gets hurt. Who knows?
Maybe.
Paul, who's your bust here?
Noah Fant. I know there's so many people that are high on this kid. Coming out of Iowa, he was supposed to be the next great tight end right behind George Kittle. And he got passed up by his other fellow Hawkeye and TJ Hawkinson. As of right now, Noah Fant is listed as the tight end 11 with an ADP of the middle of the 7th round. Now, if I'm taking a tight end that high, obviously he's only played 2 seasons. He's missed 1 game, which was actually kind of crazy to me. I expected him to have missed more. I feel like he's injured all the time. But in those 2 seasons, if you split it out evenly, he's had 61 catches, or 56 catches, 617 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's what he averages over those 2 seasons. And I just don't see that as the production of a tight end I would take in the 7th round. I guarantee you there's going to be running backs, there's going to be receivers that are sitting there that will give you a lot better production. You can wait to take a tight end and not have to draft Noah Fant this high. I mean, that's really all I have to say about that.
I have a feeling Mason's. Yeah, I think Mason's going to have to transition us into our guarantees here.
Yeah, I'm gonna guarantee the same guy Paul's just over here downgrading. But anyways, let's see here. Noah Fant, year one as a rookie, tight end 16. That's average. Okay, that's not great. That's middle of the pack for tight ends. Okay, year two he finished as tight end number 8. I think that's based off of PPR. He actually finished no lower than 7 in targets, receptions, and yardage. The only thing holding back Fant, like Paul said, was the 3 touchdowns in 2020. His average draft position is 7.08. I honestly don't have a problem taking him there, and that's because of his boom potential. The guy is an athletic freak. Once the big 3 are gone, there's Hawk, Andrews, and Fant. Andrews and Hawk, you have to take in like the 5th round, I think. Like I said on previous episodes, the way fantasy is going, you need to land your tight end to make it a championship season. On another good note, according to Nick Kosmider of The Athletic, Fant will likely be used in creative ways, run routes deeper down the field, and that's just because he's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he's just an athletic freak. He runs super fast, but he has to compete with the likes of Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy, KJ Hamler. But yeah, that's the only good thing is that the offense wants to get him more involved. So I believe that will happen.
I think both of you guys have some pretty good arguments as to why they should or should not be drafted. Paul, who's your guarantee for this year?
Mine is Jerry Judy. And if I'm not mistaken, he was your bust. Owen, am I right?
Yep.
This is such a great episode today, guys. Stay tuned. I mean, he's considered wide receiver 28. ADP of the back half of the 7th round. His rookie year, he had 52 catches for 856 yards and 3 touchdowns with a 16.5 yard catch average. He played all 16 games. He's a good deep ball guy. And Teddy Bridgewater has a history of throwing a pretty deep ball. I think he's just going to build on his second year. He's just one of those Alabama wide receivers that we see all the time that they come out. Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith, who just came out, Julio Jones, he came out however long ago, 12 years ago now. I mean, the list of talent that they produce and that they send out into the NFL every year, those are the type of wide receivers from Alabama that you can count on. I think he's going to flourish in a second-year system, knows it better, knows it well. He's a good route runner. He's a great route runner, actually, just like Mason talked about. Got KJ Hamler and Cortland Sutton out there catching balls with him. KJ Hamler, he's more of the small kind of slot gadget guy, a little speedster. Cortland Sutton, he'll be on the other side attracting double teams. And then, much as I hate to say it, Noah Fant, he's still going to be in there taking targets from him, and not necessarily just taking targets from him, but taking away double teams and opening up the middle of the field. And I feel like there's so many places that Bridgewater can spread the ball around to that I think Jerry Judy's going to be a beast.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has the potential to be a beast. It's just with the targets there and then the quarterback play. You don't really know what's going to be a for sure thing, so that's the only reason I had him as my bust. But I'm sorry to cut off our arguments here, but we are going to have to wrap things up here at the Fantasy Few. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitters. It's at the Fantasy Few. And if you are listening to us on Spotify, we are also on YouTube, vice versa. Mason, do you have any closing things to say for us today?
Fantasy Few out, baby.
And Paul, what about yourself?
Oh, sorry, I'm hearing my dog again. I'm trying to get him to come to the screen, but he won't. He's at the door.
Thank you guys for listening. Be sure to check out the AFC West Part 2 releasing on Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time. In the meantime, Fantasy Few out, baby.
Peace.